What's up, everybody? My name's Jason High. I'm back here with another video. I'm recapping the Kansas City Royals and reacting to the Kansas City Royals sweeping the Minnesota Twins today behind Michael Wacha's seven-inning gem today. He struck out seven hitters. Kansas City Royals, this was a really huge series. They've been talking about this one for a long time. I haven't heard for you, you guys probably haven't heard from me in the last week or so. I've been a little busy, but yeah, the Royals went through a little bit of a swoon there. They lost seven games in a row, which obviously this is not the time of year where you're going to want to have a losing streak like that. I didn't panic while the losing streak was going on because I did see that the Royals still were maintaining a solid lead in the wild card picture going out throughout the season. Right now, they're still well up on the Red Sox and the Detroit Tigers and the Seattle Mariners. Those are kind of the three teams. If you're a Royals fan, you kind of want to watch and see what they're doing. Right now, this time of year, it's very exciting. I'm wearing I'm wearing my Take October shirt from back in 2015, whenever the Royals were back in the playoffs, and I'm really excited to see them having a chance at it again. Before we talk too much about big picture, I just want to look at this particular series for a second. The Royals really dominated the Minnesota Twins in this series. I mean, they won today. It was only 2-0 was the score today, so it really wasn't a huge victory, but it's hard to shut a team up. It's hard, especially a team like Minnesota, who is 10 games above 500 coming into today. That's really difficult to hold them to 0 runs like that. They beat them 5-0 on Friday night, so shutting them out in two games this series is really pretty impressive. And you're not going to see it very often from a team, especially, like I said, a team like the Minnesota Twins, who is a talented team. That's a team that really has been ahead of the Royals most of the season. So, the Royals beat them 4-2 yesterday. Daniel Lynch yesterday, that's the kind of a small part I want to talk about, was he came in yesterday and threw three shutout innings. I think that's really exciting if you're a Royals fan right now. I think you look at Daniel Lynch as a potential key piece of that bullpen going forward. But yeah, as far as the starting rotation is concerned, they've just continued to be strong. Yesterday, Alec Marsh went out there and threw five innings, gave up 2 runs. That's a solid stuff from him. For a guy that's your fifth starter, right? He's been the fifth starter most of the year. They optioned him to Omaha for a while after they got Michael Lorenzen. I think they were more doing that to save his innings than they were to try to keep him off the field type thing because they didn't think he was very good. I think it was really more about that. And so it's really exciting right now to see the Royals having this kind of depth in the rotation 1 through 5. I feel comfortable right now having Michael Wacha start a playoff game for you. I feel comfortable having Brady Singer start a playoff game for you. Seth Lugo and then Cole Reagans. Those two, obviously, I feel really good about those two. I think if I was going to hypothesize right now who would be the Royals' opening game starter of a series, I think it would probably be Lugo. I think based on what he's done this year, I think you got to give it to him. He's got the best ERA still on the team in terms of the starting pitchers. He's pitched the most innings. He's limited the walks, limited the home runs. Ted Reagans, though, that being said, you're talking about a left-handed pitcher, the first one in Royals history to have over 200 strikeouts in a year, and he's got 200 strikeouts right now, and he's only pitched 165 innings, which is still pretty good. He's been durable this year, but just hasn't been pitching as long as a guy like Lugo has. But yeah, we're looking good if you're the Royals right now. Obviously, they don't have Vinny Pasquantino, and I really wanted to see how the Royals reacted after losing him. And I think that you've seen ultimately a team that has rallied around losing one of their best players, losing a key player like Vinny Pasquantino. Vinny Pasquantino, when he got injured, he had 97 RBIs. I mean, this was a middle of the order bat, a clubhouse presence guy that everybody, from what I understand, loves Vinny Pasquantino's personality, and he's really a leader in that clubhouse. So being able to replace him with a guy like Tommy Pham, the Tommy Phams of the world, those are not the kind of players that the Kansas City Royals typically acquire. And I don't necessarily mean him as a player. I think the Royals like veteran kind of leader, professional hitters like him. But I just mean it's so refreshing that here we are, September 8th, and the Kansas City Royals picked up these players like Tommy Pham. from the Cardinals. The Cardinals got rid of him. They're no longer in playoff contention. They put him on waivers. The Royals were able to pick him up August 31st, the last day that they could. They picked up Robbie Grossman. Robbie Grossman, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think Robbie Grossman at this point in his career is a middle of the order type back. That's going to really be an offensive force for the Royals. But what he wants is he's a veteran presence that's going to come in there. He's going to get some hits every now and then, and he knows how to win. We're seeing the Royals pick up players like a Yuli Gurriel coming in here, 40 years old. He was kind of a late bloomer. I was shocked to hear he was 40 years old, but he was, and he's still been a 10-year big leaguer. And here he comes over to the Royals. Again, you're not asking too much from a player like that. It much reminds me of kind of Raul Abanguez, the Royals picked up back in 2014, and everyone remembers about him having this kind of infamous speech that told the Royals how good they were because the young players really hadn't bought in all the way yet. You've got a guy, like Johnny Gomes that comes in 2015. The Royals bring him in late in the season. He doesn't play heavily all in the postseason, but he plays a little bit here and there. He's depth, but he's a veteran clubhouse guy. Think a guy like Tommy Pham is more than just a veteran clubhouse guy. He's been raking since he's been over with the Royals. He's been really getting a lot of hits, and he's been performing really well. They DH'd him today at leadoff, but thus far this season, he's hitting 257 overall. He's got 8 home runs and a 710 OPS. I mean, you'll look at that. For a team like the Royals, who really has kind of struggled to get production from the outfielders all season, looking at kind of MJ Melendez, who's hot in the second half of the season. He's kind of cooled off a little bit lately. Still don't think that's a guy the Royals really want to be reliant on, definitely if they don't have to. But bringing a guy like Tommy Pham, who bats right-handed, he's 36 years old. I didn't even realize he's 36. Wow, he's really been around a long time. But yeah, I'm looking at him, and he's been contributing for the Royals so far this year. So far right now, he's got 27 at bats for the Royals, and he's hitting 296. He's got a 45 on base percentage. Work. Okay, the Royals picking up these older players, waivers, picking them up late in the season. These are not the kind of players that you have to give 3-year contracts to. These are not the kind of players that you have to rely on to play 162 games. All you need is these guys to come in and, like I said, beating the dead horse, but be veteran presence there for these younger players like Bobby Witt Jr. This is Bobby Witt Jr.'s first pennant race. This is the first time he's been in this position as a big leaguer. It's only his 3rd season, but still. Vinny Pasquantino, before he got hurt, this was his first opportunity to do this. Maikel Garcia, Kyle Isbell. Salvador Perez obviously is a veteran, and he's done this before, right? And it's so exciting to see Salvi having an opportunity to potentially make the playoffs again. But yeah, it's just really encouraging to see this from the Royals. I'm going to start you guys on the standings real quick and just get you an exact to the minute look at that. So Kansas City coming into the series was in the 3rd wildcard position, which also happens to coincide with 3rd place in the AL Central right now because the AL Central is a very strong division this year. But with the Royals sweeping the Minnesota Twins, they're now 2.5 games clear of them. The Royals improved to a record of 79 and 65, so they're 14 games above 500, which again for a team that lost 106 games last season and only won 56. It's just amazing that they're at already 79 wins, and they're just a couple wins away from clinching a 500 season. But Royals have bigger fish to fry than that. They're not worried about a 500 season anymore. We're way past that point now as Kansas City Royals fans. They've won 4 in a row. They're getting hot again. I'm looking at their run differential right now. For those of you who aren't that familiar with that term, run differential means did you score more runs than your opponents that year? In terms of the entire aggregate of the games that you've played. And the Royals right now are plus 97. They've scored 97 more runs than their opponents this season. That is good for 2nd in the American League. The Royals are a really good team. It was unfortunate to see them lose 3-4 to Cleveland last week. You kind of felt like that was maybe their last chance at winning the division. But right now, I'm looking at the Royals. Even if I just check in on the AL Central real quick, They're only 3 games back. Cleveland's playing right now. They are playing the Dodgers. The Dodgers are obviously a great team. But we'll see what happens by the end of the day. The Royals might be back to 2.5 games within the division, which would really be nuts. But let's go down to the wild card picture right now. And I look at teams that the Royals still are ahead of. And Red Sox lost today, which is huge. So just a quick reminder, there's now 3 teams now that you have to worry about if you're a Royals fan. There's the Red Sox, there's the Detroit Tigers, and the Seattle Mariners. Those are the only teams that can realistically can catch the Kansas City Royals. Tampa Bay Rays, they've won 2 in a row. They're kind of sneaking back in there a little bit, but they're still 1 game under 500. I'm not worried about Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is 5 games behind the Twins, and they're 7.5 games behind the Royals. So really, the Royals right now currently have a 6.5 game advantage on the Boston Red Sox with them losing today. I think Boston's about finished. Boston Boston is a -6 run differential. They have a 33-39 record at home. I'm not worried about the Red Sox anymore. I just don't think you should be. I think right now the Royals are really just looking at locking up at least that second wild card spot, and they still have a chance at winning the division. I would say it's a slim chance. I wouldn't expect the Royals to win the division. They are currently 3 games behind the Baltimore Orioles for the top wild card spot. So right now I'm kind of looking at it like the Royals are probably going to end up with that second or third wild card. I think the first wild card is possible, but if they're 3 games behind in the first wild card and they're 3 games back in the AL Central, I think if they end up making up that ground on Baltimore, who's currently occupying uh, the first top wild card spot, I think that you're going to probably be talking about winning a division at that point. So I don't think it would be very likely the Royals end up with the first wild card, but I do think that the second wild card is where they're looking at right now. I think that's probably their best chance. I think they have a really good shot at making the playoffs. That's an understatement. They're at a 92% according to Baseball Reference right now to make the postseason. We'll repeat that. The Kansas City Royals in 2024, 1 year after losing 106 games, they're currently at a 92% chance of making the playoffs in September 8th. So we've only got 18 games left here. This is going to turn into a little bit of a sprint at this point, but the Royals sweeping the Twins like they did this weekend really buys them some breathing room to where the Royals are going to have a great chance not just to make the playoffs, but not just barely squeak in and maybe potentially get that second wild card spot, or like I said earlier, win the division or that first wild card spot. Just a reminder, the reason why it would be advantageous to get the first wild card spot or to win the division really just has to do with you get to play at home. The Royals, if they're able to win the AL Central, they could potentially end up with the 2 seed in the AFC, excuse me, the American League playoffs. Chiefs, they're in the AFC. We'll talk about them later. But the Royals are going to have a good opportunity to host a playoff game if they get that top wild card spot. But like I said, I don't think that's probably going to happen. I think you're probably more looking at either winning the division or getting that second wild card spot right now. The second wild card spot does mean that they would have to play in the wild card round. So if you're thinking of it in terms of playoff history in Kansas City recently, the Kansas City Chiefs the last couple of years, last year had to go on the road in the playoffs, right? They had to play the wild card round. They did not get the bye week. So if the Rams are not able to catch Cleveland, who they're currently 3 games behind, they're going to be going on the road, and they're going to have to play in that first round of the wild card. And right now, it's looking like they would be going to Baltimore. I'm not worried about that. I'm fine with that. I want to go to a game personally. I want to see playoff games at the K. I want to see them at Kauffman, of course. But I want the Royals to get into the playoffs. Right now, I'm at 92%. Let's go. I'm excited. All right, that's it for me right now. I'll talk to you guys again later this week about the Chiefs and their opening night victory with the Baltimore Ravens and what this means going forward in terms of looking at where the game shake out today with the AFC playoffs. There's already been some surprising losses. The Cincinnati Bengals lost to the New England Patriots at home. It was very surprising. The Bills held on at home against Arizona Cardinals, but they gave them everything they could handle. So I'm very excited to see about the football season and how that progresses going forward. But for now, we're just going to talk some Royals because this is awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.